My guest in the Nimataion today is Matthey, and together we are spinning a yarn. Moss, the person, not the plant, as you say. Great to have you here. You're a pagan witch, author, and a cult survivor. You're from Germany originally, so we talked whether we should do this interview in German, but as I think it will come up, we stay in English. You grew up in a cult in Germany and moved to the UK. Um, so that's a very interesting story in itself. But what has been your favorite childhood story?
So the story I think is most important to me, the one that's sort of been present throughout my life, is the Tale of Taliesin,
Mm.
which I think many people are aware of. But after I moved from Germany to Wales, I was put into Welsh school, and so it was a story I was told in the Welsh language from when I was very young.
Oh, great.
So it was really lovely to have that sort of cultural background and to understand the story. My auntie at the time lived in Bala, which is the geographical location where the Tale of Taliesin takes place, where Ceridwen brews the potion of Awen. Um, but that connection wasn't quite there for me at the time because, as you mentioned, I grew up in a cult, and so it was a very strict fundamentalist Christian upbringing. And so while I had these wonderful stories being shared to me through my schooling, these very pagan stories, really, that are such a feature of Welsh culture, I didn't have that sense of connection at the time. It was only later on when I managed to escape that religious situation and find paganism that I found that deeper connection to the tale and to the lessons of the tale as well. It's something that's really resonated with me with my journey, and
So,
finding that is just it's wonderful. It gives you that deep sense of connection and a joy, really.
yeah, yeah. So it has been there, just waiting for you to pick it up again and welcoming you to your new surroundings, to your new life, actually.
Absolutely.
That's
Um,
wonderful. For all viewers who don't know the story, especially in the German-speaking world, maybe could you summarize it a bit?
Absolutely. So the tale of Taliesin goes that there's I guess we'd call her a witch today called Ceridwen, who has a son called Avagddi, which means utter darkness. He's considered absolutely hideous and repulsive to look upon. And she understands that she wants to give him the best chance in life. And to do that, she knows she can't fix his appearance, but she'll instead give him divine inspiration and knowledge. So she sets to brew a potion to imbue him with this divine inspiration, this Awen, so that he'll become an incredible thinker and through his mind will gain acceptance in society. And so she's this very caring mother figure when she's first introduced. So this brew that she is going to create will take a year and a day to be able to come about. And so she doesn't really have the time to tend the cauldron for an entire year. She's got other things that are important she needs to do. So she gathers the ingredients, but sets a young boy called Guillaume Bach to tend to the cauldron during that time to stir it, as it needs to be stirred constantly. But at the crucial moment after a year, when the cauldron finally reaches completion, when the brew is ready, she's not present. And the three drops of inspiration jump out of the cauldron onto Guillaume's thumb. And without thinking, in some versions, or premeditated in others. He puts the thumb in his mouth to cool it, and in so doing, he ingests that potion because the active part of it was only in those three drops. And what remains within the potion becomes poison, and the cauldron cracks open, and the land's poisoned from what remains of this potion, this brew, that's taken such a long time to create. In that moment of ingesting the Awen, Guillaume Bach is imbued with knowledge and inspiration, and he understands immediately that Ceridwen will want to get him for what's happened, that he's taken all that effort and given it to himself rather than her son. And he transforms himself into a rabbit because suddenly he has magical powers as well. Um, Ceridwen, in her fury, becomes a greyhound and gives chase. And seeing that she's catching up to him, Guillaume at this point transforms himself into a fish, but Ceridwen, in her rage and her pursuit, becomes an otter and dives into the water to pursue him. Again, she's gaining, and so in his panic, he jumps from the water and becomes a wren. But Ceridwen becomes a hawk and continues the pursuit, realizing that running isn't getting anywhere. Every time he becomes something else, Ceridwen catches up to him. He transforms himself into a piece of grain in a barn amongst a pile of grain. But Ceridwen will not be thwarted. She becomes a black speckled hen and she consumes all of the grain, Guillaume included, and has won the chase. She's got her revenge. Only it's not quite that straightforward, as these tales never are, because as that grain, Guillaume gestates within Ceridwen, and she becomes pregnant with him. Um, After 9 months' time, she thinks, well, I'm going to kill this child when it's born. But the child that she gives birth to is so beautiful and radiant that she sets him in a coracle and sets him adrift on the water instead, giving him another chance at life because she can't bring herself to harm this beautiful, amazing child. He drifts away on the seas and is found later by a man called Gwyddnog Garanhir, who finds this child and names him Taliesin because that means radiant brow, because he's so beautiful and his brow so radiant that he's named for that feature. And the story continues there with all kinds of courtly goings on. But the most interesting part of the story I always find is that first part, and that's the part that always was the focus for me.
And I totally relate to that in this sort of initiatic process that is typically for all these Celtic legends, isn't it? This kind of fluidity and merging from one state of being to another. But it also reflects somehow your life, maybe from a being in one state in like very rigid, very um, earnest and bound by rules, and then finding yourself in a new life, in this beautiful life, and being able to do magic. And so it's like not only the story was waiting for you again, also the hero of the story was a reflection of you yourself. Could you put it that way?
Absolutely. It's a story I personally relate to a lot and see a lot of parallels. And it's a journey I think that anyone who's going to step into paganism or the art of doing magic is going to see some kind of reflection in it. And I find that something incredible and beautiful as well, that it's something that those extreme parts of our journey, yeah, we can see that reflection, that complete consumption of the self to be reborn as something entirely new. But anyone who steps into this world, I think, will undergo a rebirth of sorts and can find some reflection in that tale as well, which is that beautiful, all-encompassing part of the tale.
That's amazing. That's I always say stories give us an echo from wherever we call, and that's one part of their great magic. And
Absolutely.
yeah, Moss, thank you for letting us into your magic, your story that lives through you, as you, with you. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Looking
having
forward
me.
to talk with you again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye bye. The world
Bye.
is magic.